So long, 2024. Whether this has been the best year ever or a total dumpster fire, this week's Compassionate Chat is going to cover tools to end your year with power and clarity so that you can head into 2025 with a fresh new perspective. Welcome back. I'm Michelle from happyhealthyher.com. And my goal with this channel is to help you to live your happiest, healthiest life in body, mind, and spirit. So the topic for today's video just kind of came to me earlier. I always get signs as to what I should speak about, and something came across my view around the fact that this past year has been a number 8 year. And suddenly I was reflecting on the fact of, what does that actually mean? And did that pan out? Did that make sense to me? So an 8 year is about karma. It's about letting go. And it's also about embracing abundance. And when I reflect on that, I can definitely see themes of that throughout my year. And in fact, you may remember that I actually did a video on a narcissist karma, because I have seen the narcissists in my life getting their karma over the last couple of years. And so that has been a very prominent observation of how karma does actually do its thing. Not always in the timing that we want it, but in the timing that it is meant to happen. So after thinking about that, I realized, okay, well, we as the collective were in an 8 year, but I was like, well, what was my year? I can't remember what my number was. And I always, my number at the beginning of every year. And there's lots of great tools for that. Carrie Samuelson has a site, and I'm going to put a link to that below. You can actually go in, and there's other astrologers who often talk about numerology as well. And I will share any links to astrology resources that might help you to figure out your numerology for this year, or for the next year. But I will say my numerology for this year, after pulling out one of my former reports that I had purchased, was a 9 year. And so funny enough, I had written at the top of my report that this year, a number 9 year, is about closure. And if you follow my channel, you know I just did 2 videos about closure over the course of this month, because it was something that was coming up in my mind, and I was really thinking about it a lot. And I had forgotten that I was in a number 9 year, but it makes a lot of sense that I was in that headspace of wanting to find closure and wanting to use tools to get to that place. So number 9 is close of a cycle. And I can feel that in my energy and in the way my life is sort of moving. I have dropped ties with the negative people that were in my life. I don't really have any narcissistic connections anymore. Everything has felt like that hard period of my life is now behind me, and I'm about to proceed into a number 1 personal year, which is about new beginnings and growth and opportunities. And so I'm really excited. And I can actually share with you as the collective that next year's universal number is a 9. So 2025 is a 9 numerology. And so collectively, we're all going to be going through additional stages of closure. We're all going to need to be ending things. And so even though my personal number is 1, I am very aware that with the collective energy still being in a closure state, that it's not likely that I'm going to necessarily be moving forward too quickly. That the universe and the environment in general is going to be one of things sort of wrapping up, things coming to an end, cycles coming to an end. We're seeing a lot of astrological shifts. The larger planets are moving into new signs. We just had Pluto move into Aquarius. And so those energies are big, and they represent the end of a certain way of being, a certain energy pattern in the universe, and coming into a new shift. So we're all going to need to get a little bit more grounded. We're going to need to be a little bit more open-minded, I think, around the way things shift into this coming 2025. But before we even do that, I think it's really helpful to get some closure around your 2024. I love to do this every year. I love to sit back and during this period after Christmas, this week of sort of very gentle energy. It's like a very quiet period. It's a very reflective and introspective period. It's literally one of my favorite times of year every year because it gives us this opportunity to reflect and not focus so much on doing and more focus on where we've come, what we've already done and where we've come from. So the first thing is I suggest an annual life review. Now I've talked about life reviews before. I talk about it in my book, Online Dating for Sensitive Women, as a way to create your profile. If you're in online dating, the way to create your profile is to first look back at your life and all of your habits and all of your behaviors and all of your traits and all the things you like, because that's going to help you to create the profile and exhibit who you are as a person. Similarly, a life review when it's done on an annual basis will help you see all the great things you've done in the year. So this is literally like a highlight reel. And I suggest you get very, very specific because I know many of you are doers and you are probably doing a million things just in 1 week. And it all counts. And then there's people like myself who are in kind of like a hibernation mode and I feel like I haven't done much at all. So it's very helpful for me to step back and look and see, oh yeah, I actually did accomplish a lot of what I wanted to do. It may not look big, but like I said, it all matters. All the little things matter. So just some things to ponder on. Did you travel? Did you have any work projects that were very successful? Or anything that was like a major goal that you accomplished? Did you heal? Did you work on your own health? Did you improve your energy or your exercise or your eating habits? Did you read really great books? Did you watch a couple great movies? Did you learn something? Did you have a new skill? Are there new people in your life? Did you meet new friends? Did you make new acquaintances? Have you put yourself out there in ways that were different than ways you've been out in the world in the past? Did you start a new routine? Do you have new habits? The list of things you could add to this are endless. And I don't want you to get tripped up by anything big. It doesn't have to be big stuff. Very rarely is it the big stuff that's actually the most meaningful. Sometimes it's the very, very simple things like you stopped to enjoy sunsets. You started to take photos of things that were meaningful to you. You started to walk more readily in your neighborhood and you smiled and waved at neighbors. You did things that you hadn't normally done. These are all really big and they make a difference. So I challenge you to sit down and think this through at some point in the next week. So just as my own example, I told you I've been kind of hibernating, and I think that was actually called for in this year, given that it was my number 9 closure year. I also had read something at the beginning of the year that said my theme for the year was going to be the Hermit card in tarot. And wow, did it feel that way. I was very, very hermited. I was very introspective and I was learning a lot. And actually, I could feel myself growing in a lot of ways, even though it didn't maybe look that way to the outside. I could sense it in myself internally. And just in subtle shifts in my own personality, in my own confidence, in the way I showed up. This, I think, is my 30th video, so this was brand new to me. And if you told me last year that I would post 30 videos on YouTube, I would tell you you are crazy, because I was absolutely terrified to put myself out in video. I didn't want to see myself. I didn't want to talk. I didn't want to be exposed. There was a lot of insecurity. And all of a sudden, I had my Chiron return in Aries. Aries is the sign of self. Chiron is represents your greatest wound. My greatest wound is in self-esteem. And so to have Chiron come back to where it was at my natal chart and have that sort of self-esteem wound triggered, and then to have me right around the same time, by the way, I started this video, putting out the videos right at the same time that was happening. And so it's really interesting for me to reflect on that I tackled my greatest wound. I tackled this lack of self-confidence and put myself out there. And now I can tell you, I am far more confident, and not just here on video, even though I'm still awkward, as you can tell, but more confident in the world, and more confident just in my essence, in how I show up. I don't feel like I need to be achieving all the time to be worthy. I feel like I'm worthy just the way I am. And I feel that very strongly for you too, anyone watching this. I know we are worthy just inherently. You don't need to be doing anything. So please, when you're doing your life review, don't have it just focus on the things that you've achieved. Focus also on who you are as a person and the small things that you've accomplished, and in terms of growth and your own personal evolution. So I also had a soul retrieval with a shaman, which was magical. I truly felt like it brought back more energy to my spirit. If you're not familiar with soul retrievals, the belief is that there are things that happen to us where we sort of split off and pieces of our soul get lost. And I could actually pinpoint a time in my life in my early teens where that happened. And I was here on YouTube watching a tarot reader one day, and she actually said, there's someone watching this that really needs to have a soul retrieval. And I was so amazed, because I'd been thinking about having a soul retrieval literally for like 4 or 5 years. And so I finally booked that appointment and did that. And it was truly magical and really helped me a lot. And literally, I think it was like 3 or 4 days later, I created my first garden in my yard. I never had the energy to do it. I never had the drive to do it. And all of a sudden, there I am ripping up all this dirt and like planting 10 plants in this new garden. And I also, a few days later, I extended my rock garden, which meant ripping up a whole bunch more grass. I mean, high energy demand to do this work. And suddenly I had that energy and the drive and even the creativity to do it. And I'm so grateful for that. I look back and I think, okay, that was 1 week out of my life, but that was a pretty pivotal week for me. And that made my 2024 pretty magical. And I'm actually really proud that I did that and that happened. Also, if you follow me on the community page, you probably would have seen that just recently, my cat Gracie, who has struggled with stomatitis, which is, it's an infection that cats get. They basically become sort of allergic to their own teeth. Lulu, my mama cat, had all of her teeth removed shortly after I adopted her. And I knew in the back of my mind that Gracie was likely going to have something similar. And I have been praying and worrying and wondering for literally 2 years about Gracie, if perhaps we could save her teeth. And the vet I had brought her to this summer said, I'm sorry, we probably can't save her teeth. It's best we go in and we take them all, and then she heal from there. And I said, okay. And I set out, I had a lot of prayer and a lot of talk with my spirit team. And I have another video where I talk about a dove showing up in my yard and sort of pointing me to a remedy for her that actually helped to boost her immunity so that she would be strong enough to go and have the surgery, because her blood platelets were not were coming too low, and she wasn't even going to be able to have the surgery. So this past week, just before Christmas, she went in for her surgery, and I was absolutely amazed and thrilled to learn from the vet who was actually performing the surgery. She said, hey, you know what? We're going to be able to save most of her teeth. And so she only took the 3 most plaque-ridden teeth, and she pulled those and gave her antibiotics and set her up, and I brought her home. And today she's actually finally back to herself. And I am so grateful and feel like that's a huge win for my 2024. So I hope those examples will just help you to kind of frame what maybe went well in your life. Because like I said, those are some very weirdly specific things that are not necessarily major successes on my part, but they're wonderful things that actually happened in my life. And I think that if you broaden your view of your own life, you will be able to find those kinds of beautiful things that have happened for you too, I hope. So the other thing you can do at the end of a year that I always do love to do is review the astrology for the past year and the coming year, and note any trends that you may have actually happened. I like to say the best believers are those who are skeptical. Like if you look at things with a healthy skepticism and they then prove to be true, well then that's some solid evidence. And that's how my feeling is around astrology. I have been studying it very closely for around 10 years. And I've been buying planners and actually tracking whatever the annual transitions are of the major planets, as particularly in relation to my prominent signs in my natal chart. And consistently, every year when I look back at what was supposed to happen, it did in fact happen. And so that has just sort of bolstered my understanding and strengthened my belief in astrology as a tool, and it just provides me so much value. I enjoy looking back and seeing the things that have happened. So I mentioned I had my Chiron return, but I've had a lot of really volatile things in my chart. I've had some things that have been hitting my moon, which is our most sensitive aspect is their moon. And I just had Mars go retrograde in my sun sign of Leo. And so I have found myself to be very fiery this year. And I have had some pretty big disagreements with some of the most loving and supportive souls in my life. The people who are closest to me, I have had sort of some conflict with, and that has never happened with these people. But here's the cool thing. That conflict, my ability to voice myself very clearly because I was so sort of frustrated and unfiltered, which is actually a lot of the time what will happen when Pluto or Mars or Uranus are doing anything in our charts. They will make us be a little bit more unfiltered and unguarded and say what we mean to say, what we need to say. And in my case with these people, our relationships deepened because they know where I stand. I know where they stand. I don't have to walk on eggshells with them, and I hope they feel the same with me. They know that I'm now in a place in my evolution where I'm going to be honest and I'm going to be open, and I'm working really hard on doing that and pushing aside my people-pleasing tendencies and my codependency to be more direct. And I can reflect on the fact that I have been able to do that more this year. And so maybe you'll see that pattern in your life too. that maybe you were bolder this year than you've ever been, more confident or more assertive. And that's a good thing. That's a powerful thing. So I hope you can honor that and reflect on that if that actually is something that makes sense to you. And last year, I wrote a blog about lessons from 2023. I'm going to link to that below because those lessons actually are still very much in play as well. And one of the things I reflected on in that blog was questions to reflect on at the end of the year. And I still think those questions are just as valid and valuable. So I'm going to go through them with you just quickly so that you will have something as a resource that if this is something that resonates with you and you feel called to journal on your experiences and kind of reflect so that you can, again, move forward with clarity, here are some things to ponder on. First is, what did you learn about yourself this year? So you maybe have a new skill. You maybe figured out a new personality trait, or if you're like me and you're an astrology buff, I'm constantly learning new things about myself based on my astrology and the sort of underpinnings of why I behave the way I behave. Maybe you actually learned that you were a lot more assertive, like I just mentioned, or stronger than you even imagined. So reflect on that. What were your major learnings this year? How did you surprise yourself? Go ahead and journal on that, or even talk it out with a friend if this makes sense to you. The second thing is, what are you most proud of? And just as an aside, surviving is something to be proud of, especially, I mean, honestly, the way the world has been for the last 4 years, surviving and doing it with any type of sense of humor is a major, major win. It's something to be super proud of because it's not easy. Our world has gotten harder and more chaotic and more, in some ways, polarizing and negative. And so if you're able to stay grounded and centered and you're able to keep, maintain any of your relationships, that's a major, major thing to be proud of. So reflect on that. What makes you proud about what has happened for you this year? And who did you connect with? And this could be in real life or online. Did you get deeper connections with some of your friends? I actually have some friends online that I feel like I'm getting to know them more and more and more. And I do feel a deeper and deeper connection as the years go by. And it's an awesome thing to be able to meet people who are like you and to connect online and see that how similar you are and how you have the same interests and you have the same sense of humor. That always feels nice. And I think our soul tribes certainly are not just local. Our soul tribes are people throughout the world. And that's one of the beautiful things about the internet is it helps you connect with people that maybe you are not going to necessarily connect with on the day-to-day. But the day-to-day people are great too. So who did you connect with in real life? And who have you deepened your connections with? Who is brightening your world right now? Who are your people? Like knowing who your people are, the really core people who brighten you up and cheer you on, is super powerful information. That's where you want to be directing your energy in 2025, is the people who are brightening your world, who are bringing more joy and more enthusiasm to you. Try your best to drop off the connections that are hurting you or hindering you. We all have this tendency to want to be friends with more people and have a really strong network and have a lot of connections. But I can tell you, that's not always the healthiest way. There are people who drain us, and it's better not to be connected with those types of people. It's better to keep your circle tight and bright and full of enthusiasm than have it be really wide and have all those people taking from you and not actually returning that energy or that time or love. So another thing to think about is, when did you have the most fun? I love even just thinking about this because it can be the most simple things. I mean, I can reflect on the fact that I turned 50 this year, and my bestie drove from Massachusetts, a 2-hour drive, to my house on my birthday in a full red outfit so that she could pull the Sally O'Malley I like to kick, stretch, and kick routine in my driveway. Like, you can't have a better gift than that. So, I mean, total love, fun, joy. My birthday and the time around that was just awesome, and I'm so glad that the people in my life, many of them came to me because I don't love to travel anymore, and I was actually very fatigued in August. So I was so grateful, and it was a lot of fun to see my people and spend time with them. So what is your fun thing? What did you have that was so fun? Did you do you have kids, and maybe you played with your kids? Maybe you have a new joke with your with some of your besties. Maybe there was things at work even that like made you feel like you were part of the team and was a lot more light energy than you had ever had. There's so many places where we can find fun, and I think reflecting on that is always a source of joy. And on that note, what was your best laugh? Like, I think that my best friend that day, that entire day, you know, when I get to spend time with her, it's like a permagrin. And I do think that was probably one of the funniest things. I myself did a video of Sally O'Malley, and I could laugh at myself about that. I had been thinking about doing that. I did not post it publicly, but I did send it to my besties and to my partner. So that was a good laugh. And what was finally your most magical moments? I love the word magic. Magic is in everything, and if you look for it, you find it, you see it. There were a lot of magical moments, a lot of synchronicities, a lot of signs that showed up for me, and I actually keep track of those in my journal, so I could go back and reflect on what is already in my journal. If you are someone who writes in a journal, don't forget to do that. Go back, scroll through your year, pick out the stuff that's like the highlights, pick out the stuff that even were the hard things so that you can track what you've been struggling with and see how far you've come, and what you might want to work on heading into 2025. It's all helpful information, and I think many times we don't give ourselves the time to do this. Well, this is the time to do this. This is a slower time of year, and so it's the perfect opportunity to reflect and think. So on that note, I'm not a big resolutions person, and I don't even fixate too much on any specific tiny habits, but I do like to think broad. I like to think about broader growth. So what is most important to you right now? Maybe you want to just be a little bit more positive in your interactions. Or you want to be less hard on yourself. I know that's something that I'm always working on in myself. Or you want to push your skills out in the world more. I'm also working on that. So these are not tiny little to-do list things. These are bigger and broader, and as I start to map it out, I will get more into the weeds. But right now I'm thinking just holistically. What do I want to do for 2025? I'm always wanting to get more healthy. I'm always wanting to try to improve myself and my relationships as much as I possibly can. So think in those terms. What do you want to work on? What are you most excited about? What would you like to see happen when you reflect next year? What would you like to see yourself reflecting on? I think that's all a positive and powerful way to shift your intentions. So, as always, I hope this was helpful. I hope that your 2024 was not a dumpster fire and was more happy and positive. But if it was not, I hope that you're able to find some closure on it. You can start to look at 2025 with new eyes and new energy, so that it's as something that can be a completely new shift. And if you have been with me this year for most of the year, I am so grateful for you. I thank you so much. Thank you to all my subscribers. If you're not yet a subscriber, please go ahead and subscribe. Please like and share if this feels good to you. And as always, I wish you happiness and good health, and I thank you for being with me. Happy 2025. Stay safe, and I will see you next year.